And the Nigerian Customs Service says it plans to reintroduce the 4% free on-board value on imports after extensive consultations with relevant stakeholders. Bamidele Ayemibo, CEO of 3T Impex Consulting, joins me now for more on Nigeria's port competitiveness and global trade outlook. Bamidele, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's quite interesting that the last conversation I believe you and I had, we talked about this 4% fee, and now we talked about the importance of extensive consultations. Now the Customs Service says they've done that, and suggesting that everyone else or these stakeholders are on board because it says it will go ahead to reintroduce this 4%. What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure they're on board, but we're going to know in the coming days. I mean, this just came out yesterday, so I'm sure in another 2 to 3 days we'll probably be able to hear from the freight forwarder, the importer, and manufacturer to know if indeed they're on board. I'm very sure the manufacturer will definitely not be on board on this, considering where the inflation is today, and now we're having a new fee being introduced by customs. So I really don't think, I won't be able to preempt comments on the level of consultation that went into this, but agreeing to 4% on FOB at this time, I don't think they were.
Right. I mean, I thought that was curious also, but it would then, because if the customs is going ahead with this, it would then mean that businesses have to begin to make adjustments.
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
They pass the cost to us. They pass on the cost to they pass on the cost to us.
Just for our viewers, give us an example. I mean, what are we talking about?
FOB actually is called free on board value. FOB is free on board. So if I'm importing goods into the country, the cost of the goods is the FOB. The freight, that's the cost of transport, then insurance. Now, so typically you have like CIF, the cost of the goods, the transport, and insurance. So what I'm saying now is that they won't charge this 4% on the full cost. They'll charge it on only the cost of the goods, which is where the FOB comes in.
Right.
So if I'm bringing in good worth $100,000, I'll be paying $4,000 on top of that goods.
All right.
So the implication of that is, so the good might be total $120,000, but the FOB can be about $100,000. That means the insurance and the freight cost is the $20,000 on top of it. So I will pay 4% on the $100,000.
I mean, these are still significant. It's still significant.
1% is significant,
right?
Considering, I was at an event recently, and the president of MAN was saying their calculation shows they spend over $1 trillion on power, which accounts for about 30% of the cost of their production. That's not adding other costs, input, raw materials, and the like. So this is going to increase because a number of them import their raw materials. This is going to increase the cost, like I said. So if the government is doing a lot to push down inflation, CBN is doing a lot, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, and then we're seeing this.
This seems counterintuitive.
Exactly, which is where people talk about the synergy between the fiscal policy and monetary policy. Because if you're trying to drive down inflation, increasing MPR, and then you are seeing this, in fact, MPR will soon come off, coming off in May, and we'll be seeing the figure, probably seeing the April figure before that time. And if this is implemented before then, we're going to begin to see the impact. I don't think, actually, they said for operational costs. So I'm asking myself, why can't they have a budget with the government, maybe giving them, putting them in the budget so that they can get funding from the government rather than transferring that cost to the citizens.
To them. Wow, that's interesting. I know you also, in other developments, I know you attended the Global Trade Review event in Lagos.
It's
going on. So talk to us about that. What kind of conversations were going on there?
Basically looking at a number of issues and a number of topics, but one of them basically is around digitalization of trade.
Right. Within Africa, globally?
Globally.
Right.
And not just in Africa. It has started already, but we're looking at it. How does it work in Africa, in West Africa in particular? COVID did a lot damage to trade, about 5.3%, according to WT, about 5.3% reduction in the volume of trade because of COVID. Because for a typical trade transaction, document will have to be moved from the exporter to the bank, from the bank to exporter's bank to importer's bank, from importer's bank to the importer. So as you are shipping the good on the sea, you are sending document by courier. So COVID messed that up completely. So ICC came up with what is called Uniform Rule for Digital Trade Transaction.
Right. So
that I can do my transaction with my buyer and transmit document electronically.
Right.
That way, even if there's COVID, plane cannot fly, we had issue in the world, whatever it is that is preventing
event.
Transaction can still go on. Document can still be submitted to the bank can still review them, only that now they are now going to be digitalized. That means they are going to transmit it on electronic platform. And this has started already. GTR reported the first transaction in 2020 in which Fonterra, a manufacturer in New Zealand, did a shipment to China, and it was a fully digitized trade transaction.
Right,
So, yeah.
But I want to know how, I mean, for Africa, for Nigerian businesses, what does this mean? How do we fit into
The implication
all of this?
this for us is that we will be seeing less and less of paper documentation, which is good for us. I mean, the president launched the single window for trade, which is supposed to be a platform that every agency involved in international trade is plugged into. That means that now, and the good thing is CBN is also talking about it, because the concern of a lot of banks is that most of the time when they want to do things like this, it's CBN that tries to drag them back. But CBN have organized events around this to show that, look, we're also interested in digitizing trade because it's going to increase efficiency and reduce cost. So what it means for us basically is that it's going to reduce the cost we are incurring on paper and also reduce demurrage at the port. Because then we won't have to have document delay because of logistic or any issue that happened on the sea. And the implications.
Especially now that the NPS, I mean, the 15% port charge took effect last month. I mean, how is that impacting?
I mean, it's very interesting the way I know there are issues with cost for a lot of agencies, but it's also important the way we go about some of these costs, because either you like it or not, it's going to pass on. All of them are not, there's no way anybody, I mean, any business we want to accommodate any additional cost, considering where we find ourselves in the economy. And to the extent that now, if you're an exporter from Nigeria and you're shipping, or from any other part of the world, I think about 10% of our shipment goes to US. You are also incurring, we're already having another issue with tariff.
Right, that is still ongoing.
So you just see the cost increasing and increasing, but at the end of the day, most of these costs pass on to the citizen, and of course driving on inflation, and at the end of the day not making the government look good. So I think it's important the government gets to do something serious about this.
Well, definitely something for the authorities to think about. Thank you so much, Bamidele, for talking to us today. We appreciate your time on the show with us. Bamidele Ayemibo, CEO of 3T Impacts Consulting.